Hello, everyone. I am so excited for today's Q&A with one of my favorite films that I discovered actually last year. It's called Unsound. Hopefully you've all watched the film now and you're here for the Q&A. I was thrilled to program it at the Tampa Gay and Lesbian Film Festival last October, but so excited to share this with a general film festival audience because I think it appeals to so many different people and has so many interesting stories in it. And quite frankly, I liked it better than the film that won Sundance this year, CODA, Children of Deaf Adults. Have any of you seen CODA yet?
No. I haven't.
Okay, well, you will, because Apple bought it for, I think, $30 million. So it'll be on Apple TV. And that's why I say Netflix and Amazon, listen up, because, and that's not a deaf joke, but check this film out because this is better than CODA. And I think CODA was a landmark movie. I think it's really going to pave the way for more entertainment and movies about deaf characters and deaf storylines. So I'm very excited about that. And one question I wanted to ask to you, Yiana, is how do you feel about that? What is it like for the deaf audience when you're watching movies? And is this exciting? Do you want more films and about deaf characters? And what can movies do to make them more appealing?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I just watched Sound of Metal the other day, which is another deaf story. And yeah, I've been seeing it happening more and more as time's gone on. And I think it's amazing. And it's really nice to like see that people are enjoying these stories as well. You know, especially in this day and age where it's, you know, somebody kind of always knows someone who's got like a hearing loss in some way, especially if like, because I've got grandparents now at the moment who are losing their hearing and they've got hearing aids and they're refusing to wear them. And, you know, it's hard to encourage older people as well to wear hearing aids. And yeah, it's amazing. You know, I grew up watching films without subtitles, and I couldn't watch cartoons. So cartoons were really hard for me to watch because I couldn't lip read the animations. And also animations have been improving as well, which is amazing. So I actually can lip read the cartoons, which is really, really cool with technology improving as well. Yeah, and I loved Tom and Jerry, which was a cartoon where you didn't have to rely on dialogue. But yeah, it's only going to get better. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
My roommate thinks that I am losing my hearing because I always have to play the TV loud and I watch everything with captions now. And I'm so used to that when I go to the movie theater, I saw Tenet this week, you know, Tenet, and it was so hard to understand the dialogue, but the music and the vibrations from the music would probably be great for a deaf audience because you could feel the movie and it's very visual, you know? But certainly what I love about deaf films, watching the sign language is mesmerizing. It's so cinematic and it adds to the emotion and the conversation. I love the scene that you have with your father, Todd McKenney, when you're arguing, and he did really good sign language. Does Todd know how to sign, or did he just learn that for the movie?
Yeah, well, I think he knew you go in because I think you know it better.
Todd learned sign. Todd can sign, and he polished up his sign for the film. But what he does by speaking and signing at the same time is actually quite difficult. It's like patting the top of your head and rubbing your stomach. It's one of those things that it's quite tricky to be able to do that. And because of his experience as a gymnast and as a singer and dancer, he could do that. So yeah, it's quite an amazing feat.
I was wondering if that added to it, being a dancer. And what I love about your film in general, my favorite thing that I think of, what made me love Unsound, is all the human interactions. So I loved the scenes between Finn and his father, Hannah's father and Finn's father. And I loved the scenes between Noah and his mother. And I loved the scenes between Noah and Monique. We all need a Monique in our life. She's fabulous. And of course, I love the scenes between the two of you, Noah and Finn. So I'm really excited to have the two lead actors from the film here with us. And I wanted to ask you both Gianna and Reese, what it was like. When did you first meet? Did you have to do an audition together, like a chemistry read? And because I know you are both part of the LGBT community, you're both family, and but it's very convincing. You make an adorable couple together, and I really felt genuine care and emotion between the two of you. So I'm just curious what it was like when you first met, and was it, sort of love at first sight in a way?
Do you want to take this first, or should I go first?
Oh, you can go if you want to. I can.
So we met initially in LA, actually. Was it like a year before we actually started shooting? I forget when it was, because time is so blurry. But we met, Yana came to LA for sort of workshop, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And we met up and had like a coffee, and so that was our first meeting, and we were both a little nervous, and it was still very early days. We weren't sure, like when we were going to shoot, or like how, and the script was like ever changing at that point. And then we exchanged details. I think we spoke once in between, but weren't like regular. And then I flew out to Sydney, I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we started shooting. And then we had a couple of weeks of rehearsal, or a week of rehearsal. And we like hung out. We made an effort to like hang out and really get to know each other. We went out for dinners, and stuff, just to get really comfortable. Because obviously it's like the script is it requires a huge amount of vulnerability, and also intimacy at certain points. So yeah, we knew it was important to like get to know each other, and then we did, and we had a lot of fun together.
Fun. I love the scene where you're swimming in the lake. Was that cold water? Was it cold or warm? What was the lake like?
I can't remember now whether it was cold or... I just remember like... I think it was my first like fully nude scene.
You didn't have that on Game of Thrones? I thought everyone gets naked on Game of Thrones.
I'm trying to think. I forget now, but I feel like... no, it's not my first... It's not my first, but it's the first one I've done in a long time. So I was just like worried about that. I was like, I want to make sure I look okay. And I don't remember the water. I don't remember what the temperature of the water was.
But that was brilliant visual storytelling, because that said so much. When you put your clothes back on to make Finn feel comfortable, I just thought that was so poetic. And I'm curious, was that in the script that Ali Burnham wrote, that beautiful screenplay by Ali Burnham? Was that always in the script, or was there anything that was improvised later in filming that was not in the script?
I can take this. That was as scripted. It was actually shot on the very last night. We were the last day of shooting, the last night. It was rushed when we did it, and it was as per the script. And I recall from Reese that the water was cold, and being new to Australia and being concerned with sharks, I wanted to call where we were shooting at Shark Bay, but we never did. And I wanted to refer to it as Shark Bay, but we didn't. So, but it was as scripted, and yes, it is a beautiful script by Ali Burnham.
And I would like to hear. I still want to ask Gianna what it was like acting with Reese as well. So I don't want to miss that. But I also want to ask Sushan at some point how you've discovered the script or how you met Ali and developed this project. So which question should we take first?
Well, you're talking.
I'll just go. Yeah. Oh, it was really amazing working with Reese. You know, any co-worker you have is an amazing experience, and I learned so much personally because it was a really big deal for me coming on board with this project. So I felt really lucky to be able to work with people who are already in the industry and had experience in the industry. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Great. And the script, how did that come about?
Yeah, well, look, basically, I knew Ali on another project, actually. So she was script editing on that. And we got along really well. And we just went, I came to her actually with the idea initially, because I've got a history with the deaf community. And then Ali also wanted to really incorporate the LGBT and deaf elements as well with her family history. And so we pretty much created the story, and she pretty much just penned it essentially to make it what it is. And yeah, it did go through numerous of drafts. Yeah, but it was tough because politically, I think, once you combine, both elements together, with disability and LGBT together, particularly in a very conservative marketplace, it can be quite tricky to get up. But I think we kept going because it was for us. It's so important, to have these stories told, and yeah. So we're very grateful for it to get to where it's gone and to be here.
Speaking of conservative, who came up with the joke about, the sign that sort of looks like a heart? Was that in the script or was that improvised later?
That was also in the script as well. So that came through a lot of brainstorming and going back to drafts and things. So it's all, yeah. As I said, we kind of had to, at one point, go back to a whiteboard essentially and go, okay, how are we going to plot this and how we're going to do this? Yeah.
There's a funny joke in Coda, which has a miscommunication with a sign as well. But I saw yours first. Your film came out first, so your joke was funnier to me. But that one was also very funny. I want to ask Ian, when you came onto the project, you've directed over 300 hours of television, or maybe more by now, and you've won the Australian Directors Guild, the very inaugural first directing award for television. You've directed 30 years of theater on stage. But was this the first film you have made about trans issues or deaf community issues?
Yeah, this was my first feature film as well. And I'd had a slight experience in the past with a short film that I was working on when I was at film school that was set in a deaf community. But I came on about 2 months before we started shooting. I came onto the project late because Suzanne's a colleague of mine through film school. So I was invited on mainly because of my background in theatre and in television. But in my early theatre days, I worked in community theatre. So I'd done a lot of work with consultants in a kind of a developmental way and extended rehearsal process. So it was kind of fitted me to be able to do this film. It suited my my inclinations and my ideas.
I thought you really captured the authenticity of a trans or a gay love story. It was very sensitive and very realistic. And so I was curious, I know you brought a lot of deaf people onto the cast, as well as LGBTQ people. Yeah. Had a lot of consultants.
Yeah, that authenticity came from just the community we went to. We went to the transgender community and the deaf community, and all those scenes in the deaf club, they're all members of the Sydney deaf community. And so at every stage through the writing, the rehearsal and the shooting, we had those consultants there working with us. And that's what gives the film, I think, its authenticity, that from the beginning it's been written with the communities in mind.
Yana, this question's for you. How did you prepare for the character of Finn? Had you met with people that were preparing to transition? How did you get into the psychology of Finn?
It's actually really amazing because when I booked the role, I started working at Village Cinemas, and when I was working there, I met a guy called Seb, who was working at film and television at Swinburne, and he was in the middle of transitioning. So for me, it was just, I think it was really fate, but it was really amazing to get to know him while I was preparing for the role. And he actually cast me in his short film at the time. So yeah. And also to prepare for the role, you know, I spoke to many people in the community, and, you know, I was really sensitive towards it as well because I didn't want to offend anyone. And it was really important to me to make sure that I, you know, approached it correctly. And yeah, I did a lot of research on transgender actors as well. So Elliot Fletcher was a big inspiration for me. Laverne Cox, is that, if that's
Laverne
correct,
Cox.
if that's wrong, she's
Yes.
another amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. All her work, she's just so great. And yeah, I really had to become a blank canvas and kind of work my way up and work on the physicality, and not only the Auslan, but, you know, the Auslan had to become second nature to me. So I had to be fluent enough that I didn't have to think about how I communicate in the world, because that's how I communicate. So I had to really embody it. And yeah, practice was key, and hopefully I did it justice.
Yes, you did. I hope the producers of, you know, the L Word, the TV series, the L Word, they have the new version, Generation Q. I think you should audition for that. You could be, did you ever watch the original L Word when Marlee Matlin was on there? She was wonderful.
Absolutely, I was a huge fan. Yeah.
Yep, me too.
That was such a great show. Yeah, that was amazing. I need to rewatch that. That's something I would rewatch. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to bring Marlee back for the new season, for this new version, but you should be on the show. So I hope you do come back to Los Angeles soon. And Reese, I wanted to ask you, because you're such a chameleon, I recently watched your performance in the TV show When They See Us. Ooh, what a chilling, scary performance. It was a far cry from your role as the charming, sweet Noah. But and then of course, you know, you've been on Game of Thrones, you've portrayed so many different characters, but I love the character of Noah. He's probably like everyone's dream boyfriend. So how did you get in the role?
For me, the hardest thing was like going back to, because I spent the last 4 years doing so much work on like sort of just being comfortable, you know, like within yourself, within your circumstances, sort of finding grounding wherever you are. So then to go back and play someone who is so uncertain, that was like the hardest thing for me, because I've really got to a point where I'm like, this is life, and this is, so yeah, the big thing for me was to get into that headspace again of like second guessing everything, because I feel like that's where Noah is. He's at that point where, you know, he's second guessing. I had to learn guitar. I also learned a very small amount of piano.
Yeah,
and then,
it
of
looks
course,
like you were a real musician. I was wondering if it comes naturally to you.
Well, I mean, never professionally, but as I mentioned, I can hold a tune, so.
Oh, okay. We'll go to karaoke sometime and you'll prove it.
Yeah. And then I also learned Auslan, which of course I haven't used since I left. but it's still in there somewhere. It's like any language, you know, when you don't use it, it kind of gets moved to the back of the mind, and then it's saved to like next time you want to try and pull it out. So hopefully I'll get to use it again. But yeah, they were like the technical things that I did, but mostly it was like getting back into that headspace of like uncertainty. I feel like that's where Noah's at. I feel like it was uncertainty, but also like a really vulnerable period of his life. You know, it's the first time he realizes that it's scary, and he has no idea who he is or what he wants to do, and who he thought he was isn't there anymore. So yeah, that was the leap for me, for Noah.
Well, you two are such a cute couple. I want to see the two of you in another movie together. You know, it really. And I do want to talk about the music, because I love the music, and I especially love the guitar music in the lake scene. Who composed the music? Who wrote the song that Monica, Christine Anu sings that beautiful song, Colors of Your Life? Who wrote the lyrics? Did Christine write that? Let's talk about the music influence.
No, Christine wrote that together with a couple of other songwriters, and it was pretty much from scratch, in a sense of, you know, she read the script, she knew what it was about and what the message that we're trying to send, so there were a lot of discussions around that, and then they just put it all together basically, and it was super exciting. Like even hearing the first, you know, the demo kind of thing, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good, and she's on the right track. So it was great. She actually wrote a couple of songs actually for the film. The one also right at the very beginning.
I love that. So funny when Reese comes in and starts doing the guitar riffs, and Monica's looking at him like, what are you doing? That was really funny. Was that in the script that would happen, and then someone had to write a song that was appropriate for that scene?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all scripted, and the placement of that song as well. But the music was super important. That was composed by Mark D'Angelo, because again, particularly for the deaf club elements as well, you know, we wanted the deaf audience to really, and the general audience to really feel, you know, the bass in particular, so he did a fantastic job, really. Yeah.
I love that scene when Noah first experiences what it's like at the dance club, and Finn hands him the earplugs, and then you let the audience also experience the feel, the vibration. That was very cool music too, by the way. So, and I love the way you two dance. was that a fun scene to film?
We had a ball shooting that. I know I did. It was really fun. It's like, you know, imagine just being put in a room and being told to like let loose. And that was essentially what we did. We just danced for like 4 hours with really, really heavy bass. And I'm a sucker for bass. So
yeah, it's because you're from Manchester.
Exactly. And we like a dirty bass line in Manchester.
Yes. Okay, well, I think we're coming to the end of our time, but it's been wonderful chatting with you all. I really hope this film takes America by storm. I understand it's been playing in Australian cinemas since February, right? How has the reaction been there in Australia? And I know you won a big award at the Melbourne Queer Film Festival, so congratulations on that. But what have people been saying about this film and the audiences? How do they react? And how does the deaf audience accept the film?
Well, I can say that our reviews have been amazing. Our opening nights in each of the states were sold out, and the feedback has been really great, which is sometimes you don't know when you kind of go, oh my gosh, you know, you're putting your little baby out there. And look, it's so it's one of those films where once they see it, they go, oh wow, it's a really good film, everyone needs to see it. And we keep getting the question, oh, is there a sequel? And you know, things like that. And I think it's kudos to everybody to, for it to actually make it to a cinema during COVID as well, because we kind of, this happened in Melbourne twice now, where we kind of went out into cinemas in Melbourne and then bang, we had the snap COVID lockdown. And it's like, wow. And but even in Melbourne, we were only in a select, cinema, limited screenings, and we still end up coming grossing third in the box office in Melbourne, and that was after The Dry and Promising Young Woman. So I thought, hey, even though we're only open for 2 days for that week, we still end up coming out there. So I thought, hey, okay, that's all right.
I have been going to see Wonder Woman over and over on the big screen the way it was meant to be seen, because it's so much better on the big screen. So go see it on the big screen.
Yeah, there are definitely some movies meant to be on the big screen, and the deaf community, like even in was it Perth or was it Brisbane, where pretty much 3/4 of the audience was actually deaf? I think it was Brisbane actually. Yeah, so I loved it. So it was great.
Great. Well, thank you again, everyone, and viewers at home. Please tell your friends about this amazing movie, and don't forget to vote for the film. It's eligible for the Audience Award. And I can't wait to see all of you, what you do next. So good luck to you all. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.